Hi, my name is Tim McOsker, and I'm a candidate for City Council in the City of Los Angeles, running for Council District 15. Council District 15 represents San Pedro, Wilmington, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, and Watts. I'm a lifetime resident of the Harbor area, and my family on both sides came to this area for a lot of the same reasons your family came to this area. They came for good jobs in the port. On my mom's side, it was my grandmother, who was a single mom. She came to follow her brothers, who were longshoremen. And on my dad's side, it was my grandpa. And my grandpa came to help open and manage and run Terminal Island Federal Prison back in the 1930s. My father, of course, was born and raised here in San Pedro, and he became an LA City firefighter. He met my mom at the Warner Grand, fell in love, they got married, and they raised 6 kids here in San Pedro. My 2 older brothers were also firefighters. One of those brothers was the political director of the firefighters union called UFLAC. The other brother was the president of that same union. So I was raised in a household that was deeply imbued in union politics and in public service. I wound up going to law school, and I went into public service. When I came out of law school, I represented cities all around LA County as a city attorney. And I was working in those jurisdictions, and I came to know Jim Hahn. Jim Hahn, who was the city attorney of Los Angeles. And as we worked together and came to know one another, he brought me in to be his chief deputy city attorney, which is the number 2 position at the city attorney's office. And then Jim Hahn, of course, as we all know, ran for mayor and won. And when he became mayor, he brought me over to be his chief of staff. It was a great experience, very rewarding. And I'm really glad that I did it and worked so closely with the Hahn family. When I left City Hall, I went back into private practice. And most recently, I've been the CEO of Altasea at the Port of Los Angeles. My wife Connie and I have raised 5 children here in San Pedro. But now I'm a candidate for City Council, the City of Los Angeles. And it has been a rewarding experience in this race thus far. What are we talking about on the campaign trail? We're really discussing 3 important sets of issues. They're all existential issues and very important to the future of our region and our city. The first issue is the crisis of homelessness and the cost of housing. We need to be more focused, and we need to be very vigilant on bringing the tools to bear so that we can get people in and that they can have the resources that help them stay in. But then we also need to look at the full continuum of housing and make sure that we are bringing the tools to the table so that we bring down the cost of housing so that future generations can afford to live here. The second set of issues is the health and safety of every neighborhood in Los Angeles, particularly every neighborhood in the 15th district. When we talk about health, we know that we have great economic engines in this district, like the port, and in the city, like the airport. And those great economic engines also create their own environmental impacts. And we need to be careful to hold those agencies accountable so that they mitigate all of their impacts and create a healthy environment for this generation and the next generation. On the safety side, when we talk about health and safety, it is very important that we have even and fair and constitutional policing throughout the entire district. And it's also important that we have real, trusted, and lasting relationships so that the public can be involved in public safety, arm in arm with our police agencies. We need to bring down this increase in violence throughout the city. Third issue, I'm spending a lot of time talking about the importance of a just economic recovery coming out of this COVID crisis. As we know, the COVID crisis is first and foremost a health crisis. But it is also a health crisis that brought an economic collapse. We found out how fragile our economy is when we closed restaurants and retail, and we found out that some folks could work at home and some essential workers had to go in, and it worked an unfairness on especially those essential workers, hospitality workers, healthcare workers, and very often the working poor. And as we come out of this economic crisis, we need to make sure that our efforts, all of our efforts, are focused on those folks who bore the greatest brunt of the economic crisis brought on by COVID-19. So, those are the three sets of issues that we are talking about. Homelessness, the crisis of homelessness, and the cost of housing. We're talking about the health and safety of every neighborhood in the jurisdiction. And we're also talking about a just and equitable recovery coming out of this crisis. I have been very, very gratified that this campaign has gone extraordinarily well to date, and I'm excited for the future. I would ask each one of you to go online to timmccosker.com, TIMMCOSKER.com, to see additional information about what our campaign's about. You'll see endorsements. Oh, and here in the harbor area, I think it's extraordinarily important to point out that we have great endorsements, including from the ILWU. We are endorsed by the Longshoremen, Local 13. We're endorsed by the Clerks, 63. We're endorsed by the Walking Bosses, 94, and a host of other endorsements. But you have to go to timmccosker.com to see that. And while you're online, I would encourage you to look around, look at the issues, sign up to be a volunteer, sign up to be an endorser. But most importantly, stay focused on this campaign and come out and vote on June 7th. And I sincerely hope that you vote Tim McOsker for City Council. And thank you very much.